Dylan,
Good.
what's your name?
Harper.
Harper, that is the coolest name ever. I love it. How old are you?
7.
So am I.
Wow, that was just one fall I had.
I can't wait to turn 21 and get drunk off Fireball. Responsibly.
Born in the USA!
Hey, all you crackers, go see my dad at Crackers. Brad Scott's recording his album? Where the fuck is Brad Scott? What up, Michigan? My dad is ignoring his responsibilities and chasing his dreams! Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Scott.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting this. So I'm a single dad. All right, that was great how one person almost applauded and then looked around like, oh, nobody else is going to do it? And then the rest of you just fucking stared at me for 3 awkward seconds. Like, who gives a shit? You made your bed, lay in it. What do you want us to do about it? Of course you're a single dad. Look at you. You look like you were born a single dad. Not only am I a single dad, but for the past 6 years, I have had sole custody of my daughter, which tells you a lot about her mom, right? But it doesn't tell you everything. So when I was 20 years old, I started doing stand-up comedy, and one day I was standing outside of a furniture store, and I saw a girl smoking a cigarette. I actually saw a lot of people smoking cigarettes, because this was back in 2002, before we demonized smokers, right? Before those truth.com douchebags showed up. Come on, even if you don't smoke, you have to hate those commercials. I light up a cigarette every time one comes on just to spite them. Let them know I'm still here. Here's the thing, they call it truth.com, but I saw a commercial where a kid goes to buy a pack of cigarettes, he gives the guy money, and the guy goes, "It ain't enough." So the kid pulls a tooth out of his head, gives it to the guy, and then he gives him cigarettes. I've never had this transaction. Who's the real bad guy? Think about it. Is it the tobacco company making a product people voluntarily buy? Or, hear me out, the creepy store clerk who takes fucking teeth as currency? I feel bad for that guy's manager because I imagine it's a bitch to count that drawer every night. Damn it, Bill, you are $400 short, and why are there molars in the quarter tray? People hate smokers. People would rather hang out with a pedophile than a cigarette smoker. They would, because they're like, at least when I go home, I don't smell like child molesting. So I approached this girl. Her name was Crystal. She's smoking a cigarette. And I asked her for a cigarette, not because I needed one. I had a pack on me. But because when I was 20 years old, that was my game. And it worked. I got a cigarette. I got her phone number. We started dating. And it took about 2 or 3 months for her to get sick of me and for me to realize that she is crazy. Literally bipolar. And at the time, I did not know what that meant. I assumed she was into girls with low body temperature. That was what made sense to me. That's not what it means at all. It means you're going to meet 2 very different people. But the problem is they come from the same person. And with her, one of those personalities would convince her not to take her medication, and she would get real manic, and that pretty much ended the relationship. We broke up. We went our separate ways. It was okay. We knew we weren't supposed to be together. I had just started doing stand-up comedy, so I put all my focus and energy and effort into making that my career. But I had to work with a guy called the Cowboy Comedian. And if you think that experience is as bad as that name, you're wrong. It was worse. Called himself the Cowboy Comedian, but he didn't wear spurs, he didn't have a lasso, and I never saw him hog tie shit on stage. But I worked with Cowboy a lot. We were on the road a lot together. There's a point in my life where I was only home in Indianapolis for about 1 or 2 days a month, and there's another point, I didn't even have an address. I was technically homeless. And to this day, that is one of my biggest fears, is to end up homeless. Come on, you guys have seen the first few minutes of this special? On the spectrum of mansion and homeless, I am way closer to homeless than I am mansion. One night, though, when I was back home in Indianapolis, I was hanging out at a dive bar with some friends singing karaoke. Well, I wasn't singing karaoke. I don't sing because people can barely tolerate hearing me speak. What I would do is me and my friend who could sing would pick a Boys to Men song, and then he would just be out there killing it, and I would be that dude that talked at the end. Remember him, the dude that was like, baby, I saw you go. I saw you with that other fella. Why did you do it? But I just didn't care. And after our performance, I was sitting at the bar having a couple of drinks, and behind me I heard somebody doing a duet, and when I turned around, I was surprised to find it was Crystal, singing just the two of us. And I'm not going to lie, she looked really good. She was hot, so we ended up having some drinks. We ended up talking. We ended up going back to her place. We had too much tequila and not enough condom. And a few weeks later, she told me she was pregnant. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever had to break the news to your mom that you have a kid on the way, and she's really confused because you don't even have a girlfriend. It's a very hard conversation to have, but I did it. I wanted to be a part of my kid's life. My dad wasn't around much when I was a kid, and I said I would never let that happen to my child. So, I kind of got excited. I kind of warmed up to the idea of being a dad. But then a few weeks later, Crystal gave me a call, and she said, I'm sorry, I lost the baby. So I appreciate how, into everything you were, but I lost it. So I went back with my life. I went back out on the road. I was working full time, and about 4 or 5 months later, I got another call from Crystal. She said, I'm a DD for my friend at this bar. Do you want to come hang out and keep me company? So I showed up, and she still looked hot because she was bigger. She was sweating. So she'd either really let herself go or there was another person in there. And I said, oh, you got pregnant again? And she goes, nope, still. I was like, I thought you said you lost the baby. Where did you find it? She said, well, look, I lied to you because at the time I was going to get an abortion, and I figured that you would be against it. And I was like, well, someone didn't get to know me. I could not suggest that because I didn't know it was an option. So again, I don't know if you guys have ever had to break the news to your mom for a second time that you have a kid on the way and she's still confused because you didn't bring anyone to Christmas. It's an even harder conversation to have, but yet again, I wanted to be a good parent. I wanted to be a good teammate, so I got back into the mode of trying to be there. And about 2 weeks later, she called me and said, I just got back from a doctor's appointment, and it turns out I'm actually 1 month further along than they initially thought. So I'm sorry, but it's not your kid. I wish it was because you seem like you'd be a great dad, but I did the math, and it's not. And I'm not good at math, so I trusted her. And I, again, went back on with my life. And over the course of the next year, my life, came back together for me. I was back out on the road. I actually got into a new relationship with a girl who was a nurse and only one person. Dating a nurse is great, by the way. It is, because you never have to go to the doctor. They will diagnose shit for you all the time, whether you ask them to or not. Like one night, it was a Saturday, it was late. I had a lump under my chin. It hurt real bad, so she checks it out for me. She's like, okay, all right. I don't know why you took your pants off. Okay, but that feels like a swollen lymph node, and that is no big deal. We'll go to the doctor on Monday, get some antibiotics, and it'll be gone in a couple of days. Or it's cancer. I was like, that's a shitty 50-50, Molly. Now, here's the downside of dating a nurse. If you both have a bad day at work and you're a comedian, you can't complain. You can try. I did once. I got home after a show. I'd had a really bad night. And when I got home, I could tell she'd had a bad day because she was still sitting on the couch in her scrubs that were covered in blood, shit, vomit. Not all hers, probably a majority, but not all. It was such a bad day, ladies. Her extensions were doing that thing where they peel off the side like a carpet square sample. Yeah. So a few of you know what I'm talking about. It's unbelievable, but it happens. But I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go first. Because if I don't go first, I'm probably not going to get to go at all. So I started venting right away. I was like, oh, the second show tonight was awful. This drunk guy heckled me, and that threw off my rhythm. I had a bad set. I didn't sell hardly any T-shirts. It was a nightmare. And she rose from the couch. She goes, oh, you had a bad night at your 4-hour shift at the comedy club because some drunk guy talked during your awful set and you didn't sell your dumbass T-shirts. How horrible, Brad. What will we do without the extra $40 of income he cost you? Well, let me tell you about my day. I had to go into a 29-hour shift 5 hours early to do some other bitch's charting. As soon as I got on the floor, I had 3 falls and 4 people died in my arms before the lunch break I never got. I was like, shit, I bet you're hungry. You're not you when you're hungry. Apparently, you're Vince McMahon when you're hungry. But I got to ask, why are so many people dying in your arms? Huh? 4 seems excessive, Malls. You work at a CVS Minute Clinic, so I know that is a long way to go for that punchline. But like you'll learn, life's about the journey, not the destination. We had a really good relationship, man, me and the nurse. It was really good. We hardly ever fought. In fact, I do remember our very first argument that we ever had. And here's the thing, I don't remember what that argument was about. What I do remember about that argument is during the middle of it, I got a text message. And the text said, hey, it's Crystal. Just got out of prison, had the baby. She's very comical. We need to talk. Yeah, I was like, fuck, I wanted a boy. So I agreed to meet her at this diner, and I showed up, and she told me what happened was the reason she lied again was because she went to prison for neglect of her son. And I was like, son? You have a son? She said, had. And apparently what happened was her son was a baby. He was in the crib one night. She was in the shower. She was dating this Marine who apparently had an episode. He snapped and broke both the kids' legs and disappeared, never to be heard from again. So she went to prison for neglect. And right before she went to prison, she gave birth to our daughter, Harper Eve Henson. And the reason she told me she lied about it is because she thought that if I knew she was going to prison, I would have kept the child away from her. It's hard to believe, right? Given the history, it seemed more plausible that she was like using one of those inflatable pregnancy stomachs, and this was a long con just to get over on me. But then she showed me the pictures. I took one look at those mousy chocolate brown eyes, those big ears and that thinning hair. I was like, fuck, I'm a dad. I don't know if you guys have ever had to break the news to your mom for a third time about a kid, and this time it's not even on the way. It's here. It's got a name and everything. It's like a rescue. It's the hardest conversation you'll have, and my mom took one look at those photos, and she goes, I don't know if it was denial or what, but she goes, can't call it. You should get a test done. I agreed. So I went to the DNA test center, the clinic, and my best friend at the time, Terry Cody, his name was Terry Cody. The reason I say was is because he passed away in 2018. Thanks for bringing him up. He looked and sounded a lot like Dave Chappelle, right? And so we were sitting at the clinic. I was sitting in a chair. He was 2 chairs away from me, and in the middle was Harper. The nurse comes up. She says, Brad, Harper, we're ready for you. And I go, oh, I'm not Brad. He is. I'm just here for support. She looks at Terry. She looks at Harper. She looks at Terry. She looks at Harper. She looks at me. She looks at Harper. She looks at me. She goes, oh, my God, I am so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I'm just fucking with you. She goes, okay, good. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're wasting $475. She was right. I got the test results back. It said unless Crystal had slept with 233,136 men in a 72-hour period, there's a 99.99% chance I'm the father. So I asked. Could have been a crazy weekend. You never know. But I am. I was the father, so I now had to take on that responsibility. And that first year was really rough, right? Because one of the hardest parts about being a single parent is you're trying to raise a child with someone you don't even want in your life. And I had to do things I didn't want to do. I had to get a day job because I didn't want to be on the road so much. I wanted to get to know my child. So I had no qualifications. I barely graduated from high school. So I became a telemarketer. Telemarketing is the seedy underbelly of the business world. And my call center was especially shady. We had a meeting one day because they found cocaine in the bathroom on the toilet roll dispenser. And the meeting was not to discourage us from bringing drugs into the workplace. The meeting was to discourage us from leaving drugs undone in the workplace. They're like, what the hell is going on? Our sales per hour, our SPH is really low today, guys. You are not taking advantage of your motivational tools. There are 3 unskated rails in the bathroom. Remember what we say, ABC, always be coking. I hated that job, but I did what I had to do, you know? I wanted to be a good dad. And I tell you what, over the next 5 years, we got a little more stability in the situation. Crystal started to get her shit together. She started to become a better mom. She actually met a new guy named DJ who seemed like a pretty good guy. They had this little piece of shit kid that I didn't like. I know that sounds bad, but I didn't like him because he'd always pull Harper's hair or like push her, and they wouldn't like punish him or anything, so I just wait till no one's looking and trip him, which is an amazing feeling. But we had some stability, and then Harper gets into kindergarten, and Crystal demanded that she went to a school 2 blocks away from her house because she didn't have a car, because of course she didn't. And it's not that I hated elementary school. I just didn't understand it. I didn't know what the point of sending my daughter to this building every day was, because all they did was tell her she's great at everything. Every fucking thing this kid did, they told her how great it was, how special she was. And I was like, really? Have you guys seen her draw? It's shit, okay? It never looks like what it's supposed to. And that's not fair to the school, right? Because that's supposed to be my privilege as a parent. As a parent, I get to be the supportive one, and it's the school's responsibility to knock all the dumb, unrealistic shit out of her head and put her on the right path. And if the school is not going to do it, it's supposed to fall to the bullies. But in Indiana, they got rid of bullies. Can't get rid of potholes, got rid of bullies. just like everything else in the broken elementary school system, they put the onus of that responsibility on the parent. So now I not only have to buy 50 boxes of Kleenexes for these little bastards, they expect me to be a bully to teach my daughter life lessons. But I told you guys I'm an active parent. I am involved. So every morning before I would drop Harper off at school, I would give her lunch money. Then I would drive around to the back of the school and park. Get out of my car, go hide behind the monkey bars. And as soon as she came out for recess, I would beat her ass, take the money back. Okay, some of you got to relax. I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. She was on free lunch. There was no money involved. Yeah, it's just an ass whooping. No currency was ever exchanged. Now, the schedule we had set up for that point in time was I would have Harper Friday after school and then through the weekend and take her to school Monday morning, and Crystal would have her the rest of the time, which I don't know if you guys know a lot about stand-up comedy. Most shows are on Friday and Saturday, so it's not a good situation for me. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my daughter. There were times where I'd only get to see her on Sunday evening and then Monday morning on the trip to school. And then we had a meeting. Well, I had a meeting with her teacher at the end of the first semester. And she showed me a chart for Harper's attendance. And every day that she was there on time was marked with a green dot. And every day that she wasn't there or was late was marked with a red dot. And every Monday was green. Just green, 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 green. And all the other days were just randomly, a lot of red dots. There was a point in time where it was like 2 to 3 days a week she was there on time. The rest of the time she was missing. And her teacher said, we have to do something. Otherwise, Harper's not going to go on to the next grade. And I was like, fuck. If your kid fails kindergarten, that's it. They're going to have to be a telemarketer. So we flipped schedules, which worked out a lot better for me because now I got to spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday almost every week with my daughter. And if I went on the road that weekend, she was going to Crystal's. It was a perfect arrangement. And now I don't want to sound like I'm up here preaching like I am a perfect father because I am not. I have made mistakes. One time I let Harper hear a song about cocaine, and that became her favorite song in life. She didn't know that the song was about cocaine. It's a song called Brick in Your Face by a rapper named Stitches. As you heard, that is a real song by a horrible human being, but the hook is fire, and that's why she liked it so much. Because the entire song is just Stitches yelling over and over again, I put that brick in your face. Now what you gonna do with it? Better have my money when I come to collect. Pay up, pay up, pay up. She would sing it all the time. I thought it was adorbs. Here's who didn't. At the end of kindergarten, I was asked to be a chauffeur on their field trip to the library. Me and 3 stay-at-home MILFs. That's who they chose. We stopped at a park for lunch. I go to the bus and get the lunches. As I come back, all I see is her entire class beating on their table, going, I put that brick in your face. Now what you gonna do with it? And as if this was all choreographed and rehearsed, Harper stood up by herself at the end of the table like she was their queen. She's like, better have my money when I come to collect. Pay up, pay up, pay up. I was like, fuck. There were no guns in the video we watched. That made me think, what if my daughter likes this song? Because she does understand it. What if she relates to it? What if she's been slinging yay at the playground all these years? One night, the DA is going to bust in my apartment. I'm like, whoa, I just have a little bit of weed. And they're like, yeah, we're here for the girl. That summer, I got a phone call from CPS, Child Protective Services. They said, Mr. Scott, we need to have a talk with you about Harper. I was like, listen, I did not know that Stitches was on that playlist, okay? It was on shuffle. I didn't even think she could remember all those lyrics. They were like, relax, it's not about Stitches. We got a report that Crystal is doing heroin. and that she may be doing it around the kids. So we immediately opened up an investigation. We went to her house, we gave her a test, and came back positive for heroin. So we told her we're going to come back in 1 week and that the heroin levels must go down, but they went up. So now we need to have an emergency meeting with you in the next day or two to figure out what is going to be in the best interest of Harper moving forward. Now, if you have a meeting with CPS, your house will never be cleaner. For the first time in my life, my apartment did not smell like weed. And actually, the build-up, the lead-up to the meeting was actually way worse than the actual meeting itself, because the social worker was very cool. She was very nice. She made me feel very comfortable. She understood the fact that I was a parent doing the best that I could and that I wasn't putting a needle in my arm. So she said, Mr. Scott, do not worry about it. You seem like you're doing a great job, and we'll get this all situated and figured out. You have nothing to worry about. A week later, I got a call from Crystal, and she said, Brad, you have to come pick up Harper. Otherwise, CPS is going to put her in a foster home. So I immediately rushed to her house. And when I got there, I just saw a bunch of cop cars. I saw CPS. I saw the social worker. And then I saw Crystal standing there with a black eye. I saw DJ, her guy, with scratches on his face. And Harper and their little piece of shit were standing there just fine. And apparently what happened is they told Crystal that if she has any contact with the police for any reason whatsoever, they have to be the first call once she is safe. So it doesn't matter what happened. As soon as she is safe and okay, she has to call them to let them know. Otherwise, they will come take Harper and put her in a foster home. And apparently a few days before that, about 5 days before that actually, her and DJ got into a fight. And he hit her. It was loud. The police were called. No arrests were made. And she just never called them. And something weird happened to me when I was standing there looking at her with that black eye. I felt no sympathy for her whatsoever. And it's not because I'm a monster or I'm for domestic violence. I think what he did was despicable. He's a horrible human being. The reason I had no sympathy was because I saw where her hand was, holding his. And that means that over the course of 5 days, she found the time to forgive him, but she couldn't make a 2-minute phone call to protect our child. And that's why I had no sympathy for her. I took Harper home, and we had a court date a few days later. And I'm aware men have 99% of the advantages in this country. But part of the 1% where it's not fair is when it comes to custody of a child. A lot of times it doesn't even matter the situation unless one parent is chasing their dreams and the other is chasing the dragon. And signs custody over immediately. She gave me sole custody. One of the stipulations from the court was she got supervised visitation. One of my stipulations was that those were unlimited. I love my kid more than anything. I love Harper more than anything. I unconditionally love her, and she loves her mom, so I just wanted what was best for her. I didn't care how many times she came and saw her. I wanted her to come see her. I wanted her to use those visitations as motivation to become a better person, become a better mom, and be in her life. She did one right before the holidays. She did one about 2 months later, and that was 6 years ago, and that's the last time we have seen or spoken to her. People ask me all the time, you really haven't seen or heard from her since then? Yeah, not at all. She's like Schrodinger's addict. There's no way to know if there's a needle in her arm. Now, I'm aware it seems very unlikely that the story has a happy ending or even a funny ending, but trust me, we'll get there. Because Harper's a strong kid. She's an amazing kid. She's such a strong kid. Like, the first thing I did was I got her in therapy. I wanted a professional to help guide her through this. And one of the things that we learned in therapy is that she deals with trauma a lot like I deal with trauma, which is she makes jokes. Now, her godfather is one of the most successful comedians in the world. He has 2 Netflix specials. He put out an HBO special last year. And he was at Old National Center, big theater in downtown Indianapolis this past summer. And we went to the show, and we're hanging out afterwards, and Harper's telling us about this kid at school that she had an issue with. And he asked her, well, what's going on? She goes, I don't want to get into all the drama. Friends come and go, like my mom. She's a strong fucking kid. And a much better writer than I am. Now, about 2 years ago, Harper told me that she likes girls instead of boys. I told a friend of mine this, and he goes, oh man, I'm so sorry. And I was like, for what? Me winning the lottery? Are you kidding me? I had never been more proud of Harper in my entire life. Not just for having the strength to tell me something I'm sure had to be difficult, but because I could see this was forward thinking on her part, and she was thinking about her long-term health because unexpected pregnancy runs in the family. Runs rampant. She's a product of it. A couple of months ago, we were having a conversation, and she said, Dad, I don't feel like a girl. Like, I can't explain it. I don't feel comfortable in the girls' locker room, and I feel like I'm a boy trapped inside a girl's body. I'm aware the transgender subject makes some people uncomfortable. I don't give a shit. It's your problem. It's not mine. It's certainly not my son's. All right? Because here's the thing. We have to get over this fact that, or this thought that this is a big deal, okay? Because it's really not. It's just people wanting to feel like who they truly are. Here's the thing. These kids are more educated about gender identity than we ever will be. They don't care. They're not the ones that are afraid of bathrooms, okay? We are. They just want to be happy and feel like they're their true selves. And my son has never been happier since he came out and let me know that. And part of the gender identification process, when you find out who your true self is changing your name. And so I am proud to make Harper Eve Henson his dead name. And I'm absolutely proud to call my son Daniel Charlie Scott. Because like I told you guys, I wanted a boy anyways. Now, here's the thing. There's some people that don't seem to want my son to be happy because they'll come up to me after shows and they'll say things like, well, what are you going to do in 5 years if she changes her mind? First of all, that's not how that works. Second of all, his preferred pronouns are he and him. And yes, that is a big deal. And if you don't think so, call someone's dog the wrong gender. She is a golden retriever. What it comes down to is I sincerely do not give a shit who my son loves or who loves my son as long as they treat him right and come from money, because that's what's important. Thank you guys so much.
Daddy,
What?
are you black?
Huh?
Are you black?
No, I'm not black.
And who are you, Daddy?
Who am I?
Detective Tutuola.
I'm Harper's daddy.
Pop.
Are you black?
No, I'm white.
You're white.
Are you black?
No.